Hey y'all, my name is Cindy and you're watching my new channel, Seeing Blind. I talk about everyday life topics, especially parenting with a disability. I am legally blind, so if you are interested in any life topics and parenting with a disability, subscribe, hit that bell, and stay tuned. Really?
Why was that so awkward?
Weird. Okay, so today's topic, I wanted to discuss those
awkward interactions,
weird moments that if you meet someone with a disability or just don't have a lot of experience or social interactions with someone with a disability, and you want to make sure that you don't offend or that you handle those with grace and tact. I wanted to bring this up today and have a discussion about it, so feel free to comment below any awkward interactions you may have and anything that you may have learned from that interaction. So let's get started. One thing I think that is helpful to keep in mind, rule number one, is anyone with a disability wants to feel normal, right? They want to feel included. They don't want to be treated with kid gloves or singled out because of a disability, right? Common sense. However, it still happens, and it happens sometimes unconsciously. Some people just don't even realize they're doing it. For example, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a doctor's office or any kind of just general office, and as soon as I disclose that I have a visual impairment, I'm legally blind, they immediately almost want to overcompensate, and they grab my arm without asking as it to lead me to wherever the office room is, as if I don't have the ability to do so myself, even though I didn't get there by myself or, what have you. They assume that I need their help. So I want to caution anyone out there that if you haven't had a lot of experience around people with disabilities, make sure that you always approach them as you would anyone else. And if you're not sure, they look as though they might need help, just ask. Ask nicely, politely, and open-ended. Let them meet you where they're at and where their comfort level is at. I'm not always comfortable when people grab me by the arm to lead me, because I have enough vision to navigate my immediate surroundings, especially if it's a place I've been before. I really get annoyed when that happens, and I have to explain to them, hey, you don't need to grab my arm. I can see enough to follow you. Just lead the way. And so yeah, always ask. You can say, hey, is there anything I can do to assist you? Hey, is there any help that I can provide? Hey, what would you like to see from me today? Or what can I do to make your experience here better? Just normal, common courtesy questions like that. And if someone with a disability has had it long enough, they should know how to respond and know how to stand up for themselves and advocate for their own needs at their comfort level. It is their responsibility to communicate to you what their needs are. And when you provide an open-ended question like that, you are not assuming what those needs are. You are not doubting their ability to be independent, but you're providing them the opportunity to respond with their level of comfort, with their specific individual needs, and of course, it makes a much more pleasant interaction. Okay, so here is another example of an awkward moment and instance that I've had, and it was actually in the workplace. I had a colleague, and she knew I was visually impaired and legally blind, but she didn't quite know how to ask what I could see and what I couldn't see. And so she would watch what I'm doing, or make a comment about how I wear makeup, and then assume that, oh, well, she could do that, so she must be able to do this. She didn't quite know how to flat out ask without assuming. So here's my next tip, guys. Especially if you have a classmate or a coworker that may have a disability, if you find yourselves discussing things outside of those environments and a moment comes up where it is appropriate to ask, to preface it, say, hey, do you mind if I ask you something about your disability? Or something like that, just to make sure they're, number one, comfortable disclosing that information to you. If they are, then go ahead, feel free to ask, because a lot of us, most of us anyway, who have had a disability for the majority of their life, want to answer those questions and want to educate everyone in their life around them, because that ultimately keeps everyone on the same page, and any misunderstandings, miscommunications, you can avoid those. So if they are okay discussing their disability with you, I caution you with how you pose your question, because as I said before, you don't want to assume. For example, my coworker, because I wore makeup, she assumed that, oh, I must have a lot better vision than she thought. Here was the misunderstanding. I heard the coin fall on the ground. I did not see it. So ask those questions without assumptions. Hey, I noticed you were able to pick up that coin the other day. How did you do that? Things like that. Things that aren't really approaching it with doubt in their ability, with assumptions, or judgment. So that brings me to my next tip, judgments. Okay, guys, so I hope you're still with me. This last one is on judgments, and I guess what I mean by this are those preconceptions, the stereotypes that maybe pop culture could support and influence, but still make for some awkward interactions and assumptions once again. So let's discuss some of this. If you have an example of this, by the way, I hope you include it in the comments below and educate us all, and maybe once again it's something new that we can learn from your experience. But I have an example, and I always find this so funny and interesting. My husband and I joke about this all the time, and it's ironic. So I am a musician, and when people find out that, they see me with my guitar and singing, and then find out that I'm legally blind, it's like they automatically connect those two. Like, oh, because you're legally blind, that's what makes you must be a really great musician. Or, those two are related in some, weird way. And I look at it, and, when those inferences kind of come up, I just have to laugh because they have nothing to do with each other. And, I work really hard to be very independent and, to utilize the vision I have to its utmost capability, and to adapt and do things that work for me. And at the same time, when it comes to music, I practice just like anybody else, just like any other musician. I rehearse and I work at it, and it's just like anybody else, and they have nothing to do with each other. But because of there's so many pop icons out there, Ray Charles, and so many different cultural things, that really their disability has nothing to do with their ability to be a performer. So anyway, that's just my experience, and something that I always find so fascinating when people connect those two together when really they shouldn't be connected at all. So if you have a similar example of any of these, whether it's judgments or people making the wrong assumptions or anything like that, feel free to share your experience in the comment below so that we can all benefit and learn from your experiences. Generally educate everyone on how to avoid those
awkward interactions
and weird moments. So thanks Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell down below. Take care.